And we are live, sir.
Are we? Is it going? Still.
Oh, it's loading. Mm-hmm.
Are we live?
There we are. We're live.
We're live. Can you see us? Can you hear us?
How do we know if there's anybody on? There we go. I think it takes a minute. Plus, people are probably waiting until 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is cool. I'm
How
excited.
you feeling, Mr. Thorstad?
I'm fan-fucking-tastic. Oh,
Yeah.
it's live.
I see you guys.
It's a new environment.
You know, I'm really digging this. It's something totally new, totally different for us. I do not desire to completely replace having an audience because I really like that energy in the room.
Yeah.
But I think we could do both. You know what I mean?
I like this because I don't even have to take a shower.
I just wake up and sit down and I'm good.
You just got to sit here for 2 hours and smell me.
That goes both ways.
Yeah.
I smell eucalyptus.
Yeah.
No, it's still me.
Yeah. No, you smell much better than I do. I mean, my hygiene at this point in my life is questionable.
Well, I didn't know this, so it's not that bad.
Mr. Cross.
What's up, brother? So how do we know how many people are on, or do we, or is that not?
We're at 13 right now.
13? Oh, cool. All right. We're just getting started.
Love it. If you can see us, drop us a little comment in the box. Tell us hi.
Little wave,
Make sure you can
Heart.
it's okay.
something.
Yeah.
Just a
That's
hello.
good. Yeah. So this is significantly different from what we've been used to. And so it's going to be a lot of us, dialoguing and having a conversation back and forth. But what a beautiful time and place that we are in to share this.
Absolutely. So I think we'll wait just another minute or two to allow people to get on with their devices and whatnot. For those of you that are interacting right now, I'm going to get rid of this so we can see. Can you hear us okay? How's the audio?
Mr. Thomas Ferrier in the house. I love it.
33 people.
Hey, Julie. Stephanie. 33 people? Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Just a few more seconds. Well, let's just get going. It's 10.
Yeah.
No better time than the present. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you all for joining us. As you know, this is a brand new thing for Justin and Justin with the Agent Evolution to go digital like this. And so before we kind of get into today's content, I just want to say a little piece that here's an example of adjusting to the environment. Right? Like how many people have shut down things completely. Yet our vision, our purpose, which is kind of what we're going to talk about more so for you all watching, your vision, your purpose, just because circumstances, conditions, and environment change doesn't mean that you go to shutdown.
Yeah.
It's just an opportunity, and we call it a gift that, without this whole situation happening, we probably wouldn't have been doing Facebook Live.
Yeah.
We'd still be doing in-person things. And while we love that, I'll speak from I know I love it because I love the energy in the room. I love the committed people that come check it out. This is also a method to reach more people, to get the message out there. So I just think it's a beautiful situation that because of what happens with the coronavirus, it's led us to these platforms. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying I'm happy about a coronavirus. I'm saying that conditions, circumstance, environment have changed, and we opted to adapt, adjust, and overcome, and find new methods, new paths to lead us to the end result. So that's what commitment looks like.
Yeah, this forced pause for me was to see how addicted I was to my own routines in my life. Now it's like, wait, now all of a sudden the school system is not even there. Like I'm homeschooling my kids.
I'm not qualified for this.
And so, we get in these habits and these patterns, and we get so used to living this life. And, I think that a lot of the Western world has become a bit unconscious, and the program is just running over and over and again, and that we're missing some of the things that we really truly want to do and experience in the world. And, time is just going by. So I think a little space, a forced pause to kind of go within and figure out what it is that, you're here to do.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the question. And so that's basically mostly our discussion today. And again, real quick before we get into that, just to kind of set some ground rules, we're going to have kind of a dialogue or conversation on the topic, and then we're going to open it up for questions for you all. So please, we would appreciate your participation and your questions about the content that we covered, how it applies to you, what are you struggling with, and we'd like to support you all through that. So,
yeah, love it. Love it.
So really, the topic today is, are you in panic or on purpose right now? And are you binging, whether that's Netflix, food, sleep, or are you building?
Yeah.
So those are really the questions that are the topics of today's discussion. And so we're just going to have a conversation and lay it all out and unearth this stuff.
Yeah. I've got, with this extra time and space, it's always been a desire of mine to deepen into my meditation practices. And that looks like reading and dropping into my practice. And, now I've got that space to be able to do that. Before where I was, rushing to the office to catch a meeting or taking the kids to school and all of those routine things. I've got this space to kind of do some of the things that I wanted to do. I've started a garden in the backyard. Like I've always wanted a garden, but I've always made up in my mind that I don't have the time and space to be able to do this. And now it's like, well, I've got plenty of time now. And the connection that I'm building with my two kids, I got a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old, both boys, and being able to create these new experiences for us to connect in this time. I can't believe they're already 8 and 4. Time is just flying by. And so I'm seeing a lot of beauty in this, like, prayers out there to the people that are really, truly affected. I don't want to downplay any of what's actually going on, but I think the deeper message is to find out a way that we can view this as a gift, because there is an upside to it. Upside called, now you got to sit in your home and be with yourself. And, can you sit in silence with your thoughts? Are we going to drown out those thoughts with some music or some Netflix or whatever activities? Or can we use that time and space to start really digging in deep? Like, what did you come here for? What purpose do you really want to bring into the world? For me, my business, I've been in the mortgage business 14 years. But it's no longer about the mortgage business. This is just merely a vehicle that I drive. And, my purpose is working on myself first and foremost, brightening my light, and then being with people who want to kind of share in that energy and grow as well. And so now it's not about the mortgage business. And so for those of you that are tuning in that are actually in, real estate, it's not about real estate. I've said it many times before. It's your value to the world is now determined by the amount of light that you bring to it.
Absolutely.
And so for me, it's not about the mortgage business. It's digging in deep and knowing that I want to work with people. I desire to work with people. I do it every day. And so what thing have you always said, one day, someday, I'm going to do this thing? And, it's always been in the back of your mind because it truly lights you up and you feel purposeful in it. Perhaps this is the time and space to sit with that. Like, sure, real estate's great. Sell some homes, list some houses, work with some buyers. That's wonderful. But you have the time and space now to really reflect. And I think that a lot of people are jumping into this panic and really worried about the future and feeling all of that fear energy. And I know from my own experiences of being in fear, it's very consuming, very addicting.
Yeah.
And it just traps you. And, like what Dr. Dispenza, Justin and I study a lot, being in that space of fear and stress and survival, it's no time to create.
Yeah.
It's been proven energetically that, we get what we focus on. And if we continue to focus on the panic and the fear and all of that, we end up creating more circumstances, environment to support that.
Absolutely, because those hormones, those emotions of stress really put us in a state of survival. So yes, it's not a time to open your heart.
Yeah.
It's not a time to be creative. It's a time to look out for my body, my physical environment, and make sure I'm okay. Hence, the hoarding going on. Toilet paper of all things. However, right?
Still don't get that.
I don't understand why food wasn't gone first, because you need food in order to have need for toilet paper. But anyways, right? My point is, when we go to that panic state because our environment has changed and now we're in a landscape of uncertainty, we don't know what to expect next. Those emotions of fear and panic downregulate our immune system, downregulate genes. So now we start producing copies of old copies, and our body's completely different after years, right? Everything regenerates and renews. But what is it regenerating copies of? And so this can be a time for panic. This can be a time for stress if you so decide and choose. But just because your life has been maybe significantly altered, panic is still a choice. You can go to purpose. Because again, thank you for sharing, Justin, your notices right now on how you're being with all of this shifting. What I've noticed for myself is I've had way more introspective conversations and notices raising my consciousness. And I'm not really doing anything intentionally different. I'm just taking advantage of the situations in front of me, which is more time. More time because I'm not rushing around from office to office or doing a lot of the activities that I used to do. I'm doing everything from home now. And so it's just more time to be with self in silence. And so just having these notices, getting clarity on my life's purpose, what am I building, why am I building it, or do I want to go to check out and binge? It's really easy to lay in bed and turn on Netflix and just go all day long. And I'm not saying that's wrong, so don't misunderstand me. Because this can be a time to pump the brakes a little bit, take a step back from your normal reality, be the observer, the witness of it, and say, okay, what was working with that old construct that we may end up going back to? Hopefully not. What wasn't working? How was I being? And now, what is my intention moving forward? Because I think, we coach a lot of people, and a lot of people are saying, well, I want to find my path. I want to find some purpose. And to that, I say, it's not something you find. You don't go out there searching for purpose, and then all of a sudden, it's bestowed upon you that you've gone the warrior's fight, and you've slayed the dragon, and now here's your treasure called purpose. That's not how it works, because nothing has any inherent significance or meaning. It's all assigned by you, by me, and so. In creating purpose, it's what is it that feels like play that I find meaning in? And that's my purpose. What activities do you participate in where you lose all track of time? Next thing you know, it's been 3 hours and you thought it was 10 minutes, right? Because it's play.
Yeah. So I suppose a sizable percentage of the population would do a thing because of what they could get by doing a thing. And what I mean by that is we would choose to do some work to chase some money. Ultimately, the goal was to obtain money. And so I say this is the time and space to chase something that your heart really wants. And not because you need money to do it, but just something that just fulfills you inside. that we're not doing just so that we can have something called money. If I was to leave everything in the mortgage business and let it just do its thing, I would follow what felt good in here. When I was, 20, 21-year-old kid, I got in the mortgage business because it was a way to make lots of money. And what I found out, 6, 7, 8 years later, in a couple years into my coaching journey, is that in and of itself wasn't enough to really keep that inner fire going. Once I achieved the money, then what? I still had that space inside me, that void that wasn't filled, where I felt like I wasn't giving my deepest gift to the world. And recently I had met a woman who had a program called Soul Purpose or something like that, and it was a whole test that I could sit through and go through a series of questions and really dig in. What is that one thing that if it wasn't to make money and I had an unlimited amount of time, like what's that one thing I would do every day for the rest of my life? Like money and time were taken care of. And after some work and going through and kind of inventorying what I do with my time and space each day, my number one thing was meditation. It's that thing that fills my cup so beautifully. And when I'd also surveyed my surroundings and the people that I've interacted with, I've taught a lot of people some of the methods that I've used, and it's really lit them up. And so all of us have some kind of gift that we really truly like. Maybe something when we were when we were children, and that, go do that. The best service we could give to humanity right now is to express love and maintain that vibration.
Absolutely. Well, and in order to express that love and vibration, you'd have to be on purpose, right?
Yeah.
You'd have to be clear about, this is what I'm about, and this is where I find meaning and significance, like this, and I've assigned it to this path. And so when you get a hold of that purpose, now we were just talking, Alan Watts is one of our favorite kind of philosophers, brilliant man. And I was listening to somebody last night, and he said, the essential principle in business is to find what you love to do, that's play, and how do you get paid for it. And so this is such an excellent opportunity for people that have more time now to sit with self and discover what is your purpose. And then making the conscious decision that, am I going to go binge with my time, or am I going to go build? Yet the point we're attempting to make here, the essence of this message is, before you go build, making sure that you're on purpose. Because when your intention is clear about what your purpose is, the mechanism of how to monetize that will appear. It will unfold for you. Always has, always will. I mean, my purpose in building Libertas, to create a large organization that empowers others to experience a life of liberty. That was my purpose. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't care with how. I just kept the end result in mind. I experienced it hundreds of times, and I allowed it to unfold versus me forcing it out because I have to go build something. Now, if I wanted to build something to earn money, then I'm going to manipulate the people, the circumstances, everything to get my end result. Yet my end result was simply to empower others. So before you build, get on purpose, because the purpose is the end result, not the money. Otherwise, you'll always be chasing the money, and you'll manipulate everybody and everything in order to get the money. And then you're left with some success. You'll get some money, for sure. It's a way. Yet, what were the prices you really paid? What were the relationships that were damaged with yourself and others? What are the costs? So again, I'm just saying there are two different ways, and I've lived both paths. And so that's why we're here talking about a better way to be. That'll drive the doing this. That'll create the results, the have.
Yeah, I love that. We have this forced pause where we've really had to, and this has been my experience, cut back on some of the things that I consume. And as well as having, a significantly greater time to kind of reflect on some of those things. And so I do think that we're in a really, really wonderful place for people to kind of dig deep and find out what that is.
Yeah, this whole situation is such a catalyst to be introspective and take a look at what really is, to shine some light on those shadows within ourselves. I mean, what an opportunity. Because I don't know how many chances we'll have like this in our lifetime.
Yeah. So collapsing the fear about everything that's going on. So we said you can panic or you can be on purpose. And so let's kind of dismantle panic a little bit. Being avid studiers of Dispenza, what he says is that disease cannot exist in a body of light. And so what is meant by that is when we keep our vibe high, these systems within our own physical bodies maintain harmony. And so what happens is now all of our natural mechanisms to be able to fight any, opponent, let's call it a virus or whatever, our bodies can remain in harmony and keep us alive. So stress, when we're feeling that stress and that fear and that panic, what happens is our immune system starts to suppress and some of our bodily functions are no longer able to perform. So if the virus in and of itself is your concern, and I have some people that I've met that are not concerned about that, and they're concerned on, economic impacts and whatnot, and, to each his own. But if the virus in and of itself is the concern, the absolute best thing that you could be doing is protecting your vibratory state. And that can be done through so many different practices. But one of those things is go do the things that really light you up and that you have so much fun doing, that you just feel elevated from. And that in and of itself is one of the best medicines that you could take.
Yeah.
And, if you want to take it a little bit more woo-woo, the collective consciousness, each one of us is and this has been measured, each one of us is essentially a radio, and we are emitting a frequency into the collective. And so what happens is if the collective is emitting a lot of fear, then that's what we end up experiencing in our worlds. We experience more of that. And so if each and every one of us can, develop some spiritual practice of some sort, or something that just really lights you up, and be eating some high vibe foods, being with your loved ones and the people that you care about, and going out and doing those things, we are those little antennas that are emanating frequency called love and happiness and light. And what happens is we help tilt the world back towards where we really want it to be. And I think right now you have not a lot of things that we can be doing right now other than, this is the time and space to really protect that vibe. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it really is that simple. Take advantage of the opportunity in front of you to first go within and take inventory of, again, what is it I do that really serves me? Oh, well, I have a daily ritual. Great, what's in that daily ritual? Why is it in there? How does it serve me? To just start to sit with self and question, explore, and discover things about yourself that you may not have been aware of, right? That's what personal development's all about. It's what they call the shadow work. So, you've got your analytical mind. That's that inner roommate, that terrorist that always gives you such wonderful advice, and it's making a lot of the decisions. So you think. Because in reality, they say 95% of all your choices and decisions come from those subconscious programs that are just old thoughts that have been impressed until they took root. And now your body and mind know how to do those processes so well that it doesn't require your conscious mind in order to run the program. And so personal development then is taking a look at the self underneath the surface and what are those programs? What is running the show? Because I can have a new conscious thought about, okay, here's my purpose and here's what I want to go build. And then you get into action. The problem with that is it's a new vibration. It's a new thought, it's a new feeling. And if it doesn't fit in alignment with the old programming, the old programming will attempt to kick it all out for your survival. So whatever your programming is, it will always be 100% successful, regardless of the new conscious thoughts and regardless of what you say you want. So the work then becomes being aware of what are those programs underneath the surface, where did they come from, why are they there, how are they operating that serves me, and what are the prices I'm paying by not changing some of those programs. Because some of your programs might serve you really well. Some of them help you earn a lot of money or maintain awesome relationships and connections. And some programs really don't serve you at all and keep you stuck in a lot of ways, keep you in fear. So it's becoming, utilizing this time right now to be more introspective, to uncover a lot of this information, and then setting a new intention of how I desire to be moving forward. Not concerning yourself with the how you're going to do it. That's step 2. Complete step 1 before you even think about step 2, right? Yet we find that so many people want to know, okay, Justin, so this is great information, so give me step 1 through 10. No, that's not how it works. You don't need to know step 2 until you've completed step 1. Because step 2, 3, 4 through 10 may not even make sense to you or may seem ridiculous. Yet when you experience step 1, you'll understand step 2. It'll unfold and be shown to you. So it's like your nervous system. Do you really know how your nervous system works?
No idea.
I have a general concept that it's, electromagnetic pulses in the brain that send signals to the rest of the body. That's the extent of I know. But how does it really work? Yet, all day long, you don't question the fact that you're breathing, that you're digesting, that your heart is beating. You just know it's happening, and you're glad you don't have to think about that. If you're even aware that you have this autonomic nervous system that works for you. Yet, you don't stop living your life because you don't understand how it works. You just trust the process and go with it. So that's basically what we're asking you to do. Decide, am I going to panic or be on purpose? I'm going to be on purpose. Great. Step 1, become more introspective. Utilize some of this free time to go within. Sit with yourself in your meditation, in your breathing practice, in your movement. Pick up some yoga. Start reading some book, listening to some audio tapes. Start questioning, exploring, and unearthing a lot of these things that are under the surface that you didn't even know were there. You come to see yourself more. You come to know yourself more. And my experience has been, going through that process, you come to love yourself more, the more you see and understand yourself. Then you have more information to move forward with, what is my purpose? What do I want it to be? Because I'm going to assign it. I'm not going to go discover it. I'll reveal it within myself because it's already there. That's my belief anyways.
Yeah. And just a reminder for those who are still joining this call, if something resonates for you and you want to dive a little bit deeper, the power of our container has always been with our people. And so when something comes up, ask the question, be bold, and we'll have some more content we can deep dive with. I want to bring it back to the panic and purpose piece. Some of the people I have had the pleasure of interacting with in all of this have a fear of not having money. And so as it relates to dismantling panic so that we can move on purpose, let's dissect money, this construct that we have come so known to chase after in our lives. Money has always been a useful vehicle. It was initially intended for us to have a means of exchange so that we could get our needs met. However, then became this thing called economy and financial markets and electronic exchanges where a lot of some manipulation could move in. And so when we think about the concept of money and how it's evolved, ask yourself, what is it that I truly need? Like, a stack of money here is wonderful, but you can't eat it. I mean, really. So we all wake up in comfy beds, I'm assuming most of us, We have love in our hearts. I have a fridge full of food. We have water. And being in Phoenix, thank God I have power. Summer's coming. And so we have a lot of those things already. And if for some reason you didn't have the money, we have community. I have been seeing more smiles on people's faces just riding my bike through the neighborhood than I ever have before. And my neighbor, 3-4 houses down, he's got a couple kids. They play with my kids. I'm teaching him meditation this week. And he just bought a wood-fired oven, and he happened to make the recipe for Sauce, the pizza chain.
Oh, wow.
And he said, I'm going to bring you a pizza this week. And so I see mankind stepping back and saying, whoa, how addicted to the system did we get? Just to consume. And we were a cog in the wheel that kind of perpetuated this whole machine. And now we get to step back from it and say, wait a second. And so this coming together, like that's our tribe, our people. And I get the other piece where, we should be, quarantining and all of that stuff. And I'm not saying go out and hang out in public places, and there's really nobody hanging out there anyways, but like get to know a few neighbors and have a conversation and connect and build community. I feel like that's how humanity has survived as long as it has, is that we've been community. And then this thing called industrial civilization and consumerism and all that stuff was kind of birthed out of this. And I think it was a necessary step in our evolution. But now we've gotten so addicted to that cycle. And there was a lot of unserving things if you really look under the hood.
Yeah. Well, and so I want to kind of tangent on that. So community, right? So we were talking a little bit about business too. And so, that's what we're doing. We're taking a holistic approach. It is about business. It is about your health. It is about your connections. It is about your relationships, right? It's everything that matters. And so what we're talking about then is, like if we go back to the law of compensation, how do I earn, not necessarily money, but compensation? How do I earn an item of value? Right now we're calling it money because that's our construct. We use money tool to buy the food, to buy the shelter, to buy the things, right? So the law of compensation states that you will earn in direct ratio to the value you provide mankind. And so this time where we can be forced to deconstruct some of our models of reality and take a step back and discover what we want to place meaning on and purpose, so that if I go play all day long and I stay in that bliss, now a way to monetize that will unfold. And I'll earn money because I'm doing what I love to do. Because I love doing what I'm doing, I become really good at it. Because it's play, like a 5-year-old. Like you don't have to tell a 5-year-old to go outside and play or find something to do. Most of them keep themselves pretty preoccupied, and they're happy doing it. And so when and where and why have we gotten away from playing and just said, oh, now I have to go do this to earn money because money is now the be-all, when it's really not. And I think a lot of people are starting to wake up to that and realize that money isn't the point to life.
Yeah, when you dig in and find those purposeful things that you have, those gifts, and you start to share those, the amount of passion that flows through you is incredible. Speaking from that has been my experience. And when it's from that place of divine alignment, you show up differently and people notice. And so if we were always doing a thing because we could make money, like how long could you continue to do that before you started to feel that inner tug and your soul saying, wait, what are you doing here? You had this beautiful gift that you were supposed to be bold. And I feel that a lot of that has been, a product of our environment and how we've been raised and our conditioning. Yeah. There has, for me, there was always a, keeping up with the Joneses was I suppose a common phrase around that,
Yeah.
and how we had to amass material possessions to define our worth. And if I had more than Mr. Jones next door, I was in a good space in life.
Yeah, then I'm doing better.
Yeah. And then there's that time where you're sitting in the bathtub by yourself and you still feel that void deep down. And that's your soul telling you, hey, you've got a gift to give and you still haven't given it.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest, for me, one of my definitions of like the biggest failure would be to go after a thing because of the monetary gain and be very successful and get the end result called a tremendous amount of money. Yet times, let's say at night when you're in the bathtub alone, and just that, you're alone. You're so unfulfilled from within. The love, the joy, the happiness that's created from within isn't there because you traded all of that to go get a thing called money. And so the definition of failure for me is having the end result but being unfulfilled.
Yeah.
Why not be fulfilled so that you can create the thing that's play? It's just so backwards to me. People think that, well, when I have that success, then I'll be fulfilled. Then I'll be happy. Then I'll have more friends. Then I'll have a better community. Then I'll have better health. And it's like, you get what you're going for, the end result, by being all those things now. Are you waiting? Like most people are sitting in this waiting room, waiting for things outside to change, so then I can get into action. And to that, I'm saying, like, really? What are you waiting for? I say the time is now. The time is now. Because a lot of people have more time to go sit with self, explore and discover more about yourself, so you know where to place meaning and significance on something that's play. Stay on that path. Stay connected. Have a high vibration because of your morning practice, because of the food you eat, because of the people you're around. And stay in that play. And watch how the mechanism to earn compensation will unfold for your benefit. You don't need to know how it's all going to work out, like the nervous system. You don't need to know how it works so that you can breathe without thinking about it. You don't need to know how it works so that your heart will beat without telling it to beat. You just know it works. So trust in that process.
So this construct that we had gotten so used to, as it's kind of been stripped from us, we're in this space called uncertainty. And, a lot of us, including myself, have this fear of not knowing what that next step looks like or not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow. But the idea is to step back from that and get clear on what mental energy you're putting into it. Do you want to continue to visualize the worst case scenario that could happen? Or could you visualize and hold images in your mind of the most beautiful things that could transpire with all of this? And I realized when all of this stuff was taking place, I got to experience how addicting those fear emotions are. And I got sucked in, and I felt my vibration drop for a couple days. I was a little bit in a rut. But I also knew that that was a sign that I had gotten too far lost in my humanity and disconnected from my divinity. And so I went back to my practice. I'd also looked, and part of that whole deal was like, well, wait, I haven't really been in my practice the last couple days. And then I got sucked into, I didn't get sucked, that sounds victim, but I started reading some of the stuff going on and started feeling those fear. And then I wanted to dig into more. And I could see how it was just so addicting. And so getting back into my practice, that thing that absolutely gets my light going. And then from there, starting to hold in my mind what I have this beautiful time and space to be doing, and it's to adventure with my kids. It's to connect with a few people in the neighborhood. It's to start working on a new project that I've always said I wanted to do, and I'd always make up that I didn't have time to do it because I was too busy doing all these other things. But this thing is really in alignment for me and really fills my cup. And so I have this forced pause to now make great use of it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I know for myself in the onset of all of this, like when they first shut down California, and then there was, Arizona's next. I know my vibe definitely dropped because I was in resistance to what was. I wanted business to resume as normal, and people wanted to do it a different way, and I didn't. So I was fighting that reality. And what I didn't really realize in the moment was I was investing this amount of energy in that fight. And so my vibe was dropping. And because my vibe was dropping, my morning ritual seemed like a lot of effort, a lot of work. I was like, man, I just don't have the energy for it. And so that was waning. And so my vibe dropped even more. And when I realized this whole game that I was playing, it's like, wait a minute. What's my purpose here? What is the best way for me to fulfill that purpose? Oh, I can make some changes here. Oh, by the way, those changes involve stopping my fight. So I just surrendered, accept what was. And once I felt like complete surrender, not surrenders in defeat or giving up or the white flag like Nehemiah 1, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about true 100% acceptance of what is. This is what is, and I'm satisfied. Now that I've neutralized my energy around it, I have the ability to raise my vibration again and look at the situation from different angles and perspectives to find or uncover new methods of being to stay on purpose. And so the vibe came back up, and here we are course correcting and adjusting, adapting, and overcoming what's in front of us. When really what's in front of us was a gift to force some of us who are paying attention to change the way you are being and doing so that you can produce a different reality. What a gift. It was such a beautiful time for that purpose.
So I like this. I want to deep dive a bit more around this. I had a student I was coaching privately, and she just had no energy left to be able to create what she wanted. And she didn't have the results that she really desired in her life. And she was real honest with that. Really beautiful. Much respect. But what we had come to notice is that there was an attachment to all of these different things in her life to look a certain way. And so she was expending energy on X, Y, and Z. And every time that it wasn't looking the way that she wanted it, there was this massive internal stress. And so this is the place to dance in this thing called surrender and uncertainty. Because when we can start letting things just happen, we take all of that energy back. And when we have all of that energy back in this space, we're able to create more powerfully and kind of write this next chapter the way that we really desire it.
Yeah, that is so profound, and the implications of truly understanding that and then creating a life to experience that is so incredibly impactful. Because I know for myself, like I lived that way for so long, the majority of my life, which was I had expectations of people and places and situations. And any time that my reality didn't meet the expectations, I was in complete resistance. So here I am investing all of this energy into all these things that are not meeting my expectations. How much energy is left to transmute into consciousness to go create? None. And so breaking those addictions and those expectations and taking that power back from those places, now I'm powerful. And I can transmute that and focus it through consciousness and direct it on what I intend to manifest. Energy flows where attention goes. What are you paying attention to all day long? That's an important question to sit with.
I think this ties in nicely to our conversations around the meaning-making machine. So our attachments to our environment to look a certain way for us to be happy. When we can sit back and be objective observer of that, can we look at this circumstance or situation with a different lens? Can we try on a new pair of glasses and perceive this situation and find out what lesson in it is there for us, or what beauty is there for us? So when we're attached to something in our environment to look a certain way and it's not, and we have that stress, that's because we're viewing it with one set of lenses. And so being able to take that pause, take a couple breaths, inspire, get connected, and find out what other ways you can view this condition, circumstance, environment in a more positive light. How is it there for you? And so when you find yourself feeling a stressor, ask yourself, how is this happening for me? Because the victim lens says, why is this happening to me? And I can assure you that every single thing that transpires in our life is our teacher in some facet. There is a lesson in it. The question is, sometimes with our default lenses, how we immediately perceive it, we don't see it. We don't see the lesson. We don't absorb the lesson. And can you sit back from that and find out what beautiful gift lies in this circumstance that perhaps I didn't see first?
Yeah, well, the other thing too, which is so brilliant to add on to that, is switching the lens from victim to responsible. You know, the victim lens, as you said, is why is this happening to me? The responsible lens is, how is this here as a gift for me to learn and evolve? And how did I play a hand in creating this situation? Where's my 1% of responsibility for that? Now, I'm not talking about blame, and I'm not talking about fault. I'm talking about responsibility, the ability to respond. You know, I was just having one of my private clients yesterday, coaching session, and the topic we were discussing brought up an old memory. That's in Age and Evolution Part 1. My favorite quote of all time. Man's chief delusion is his conviction that there are causes other than his own state of consciousness. Ladies and gentlemen, to think is to create. And so taking some of this time right now that you may have to sit with self and notice what you're noticing. Become the witness of that inner roommate. Observe it. Listen to it. And I'm not saying, don't identify with it. Don't take the thought and see it through. Just witness it. What are its dominant thoughts? What's the dominant energy? What are the dominant emotions that you're noticing throughout the day? Joe Dispenza says we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Now, that's not a problem. The issue is, if you're not paying attention, 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts you thought yesterday. So that 10% of new thoughts of what you want new, bigger, better, different, what are you doing? How are you being to support that instead of being trapped in the program, a slave to the program? This is the time for that reflection to unearth and assign a purpose for your life so that you can go build that. You can be with it. You can experience it. You can feel it. That is the opportunity. That is the gift that is at hand right now. Amongst the unemployment, amongst the ill health, the shortage of toilet paper, and some other essentials, right? So you can pay attention to all that out there, or you can pay attention to the inner world. We're backwards here. The inside, and say, this is how I intend to be. This is my intention moving forward. Because that's a choice. No one is forcing you to have any intention. That's our free will. So what do you want to be about? Hi, Justin. What do you think? Do you want to unpack that a little more? You want to take some questions?
Yeah. So we covered a lot, and we tend to ramble at times. Would love to hear what's coming up for you. When we say these things about stepping into your power and to use this time and space to not dwell in that panic and fear, but rather to move into this place of purpose, what do you feel as a roadblock or an obstacle? What are you hanging on to that's still keeping you kind of grounded to where you're at right now? So if that resonates for you, type a question in the comments. In regards to the quote that you said, man's chief delusion is his conviction that their cause is other than his own state of consciousness. So everything that we experience is a result of something that we've created. Now, there's a difference between what we've created as a collective and what we've created individually.
Totally.
Now, I believe that we have collectively created this virus, that we have been living out of harmony with existence, that we have been mindlessly consuming. I say we, I mean it's general, mindlessly consuming, and that it has been, and we have completely overlooked what the cost was to the environment. And what wake-up call were we actually going to respond to? What was going to be enough of a pattern interrupt to cause us to stop and say, wait a second, what have we been doing? And so I believe that we've collectively created this, and that our way out of this is to be conscious. Getting a bit woo-woo is humanity has always existed in cycles, and that this next cycle has been termed by many different, I would say, lineages or teachings, or, the Aquarian age and all of that stuff, is when man starts to move closer to its true nature, true divinity, and being more love and light and expressing its most beautiful gifts. It's been called the Golden Age, heaven on earth, right? And so these constructs that are rooted in fear and control and scarcity and all those things cannot actually exist in the new world, and they slowly erode to make way for this new way of being. And it's like, okay, Buckminster Fuller said that we don't try to go and force and fix all the stuff that's broken on whatever system we have right now. We just start to pause and think about how we can be and create a new system that's beautiful and loving, and all the people catch on to that and step into that place.
Which makes the old model obsolete. There's no renovation, repair, alteration to bring it current. You just sit back, reflect, go within, create a new model that makes the old one obsolete.
So that's back to your purpose. If we, as a collective 7.8 billion people, all went within and found out what was my unique gift that I have that nobody else can do, because nobody else is me, and step into that place where you're just expressing love and giving your gift, imagine what the world would look like. And that would be the golden age. And right now is the forced time and space to dig in deep and look at that. And you will always have currency, whatever that looks like, because it's going to be, like Mr. Thorstad said earlier, an exchange of value. You always have your able body. You have the amount of light that you could really turn on and project that into the world. And that, in my opinion, is always valuable, no matter what the economic climate looks like. And again, back to backing it up around the immune system, is that when we're feeling stress and fear and panic, we've just completely collapsed our greatest defense. And so to step back from it, there's all signs right now point to let's do that thing that I've always wanted to bring into the world. And, real estate and whatever your vocation is, wonderful, cool, keep paying the bills, keep it going. But now you have this freed up space to start to work on that project, that thing that you were created for.
And I think, though, what holds people back from taking action on that, from being that greatness, is, again, how? Okay, Justin, so what I've always wanted to do was X, but I'm not even sure where to start or what to do. Many people come to me with that. And to that, I have a very simple answer and action step for you. Don't do anything yet. Go sit in silence. Go practice your meditation. Quiet that analytical mind. Get to silence. And I promise you, the next step you'll receive. It sounds totally woo-woo, but I'm just saying for myself, based on my life and my results, my weight transformation, the business success, relationship successes, all of it has not been by me sitting down with pen and paper and jotting out what the process is going to look like and when things are going to unfold and how it's going to unfold. It's not your job to know how. Your job is to know what exactly I want and why I want it, and then to sit with it and practice it, that future success now. Feel it in your physiology like it's already happened. Because then you're laying the new neural pathways in your brain to reflect the mind that it's already done. The brain's an artifact, it's an organ. It's got a bunch of neurons inside of it. The activity is the mind. So you can use the mind to change the activity of the brain, causing a new level of mind. So go within and get clear about what is it exactly the end result looks like. What does that feel like? What would I feel like when that's already a done deal? Sit with that. The next step will be shown to you. You'll hear it from a friend, the radio. You'll read something on social media. Or you'll just hear something that says, go do this. That's an inspired action. Go do that.
Then you won't even question it.
Never again. Because when you take action on that inspiration, guess what happens? When you're done with that step, the next one's going to come and be shown to you. It's going to unfold for you. I promise you that. But you would have to have the faith, belief, and trust that you're enough, you're worthy, that you can do it, that you don't need to know how it's all going to play out, because that's not your job. Your job is to stay in inspired action. What is your state of being? And what are you doing day by day to be responsible for your state? What is your morning practice? Do you sit in meditation? Do you write out gratitude? Do you experience that future as if it's here now in the present? Or do you just sit around and worry about what happened yesterday and stay in a state of anxiety about what might happen tomorrow, investing all your energy in the past and the future instead of never being present here now in your meditation, getting clearer?
It's interesting that this topic came up because I have some more context to make this a little more ingestible. I was in a conversation this last weekend with a woman who's a therapist, and she had developed some really wonderful techniques for healing trauma. However, a lot of the regulations for therapists was really capping her ability to go out and share her gifts and with the world. Like, she was crystal clear that she could absolutely help and serve people. There was not a question in her ability to do what she loved to do and help people. But with all the regulation, she had to act within this confined little container, and it really limited her impact. And so as well as income. I mean, she was paid a small pittance for what she was doing. And she had some thoughts of going out and being a healer in the world and sharing her gifts and attracting clients that she could really help move forward in their lives. And we had this conversation, and she said, well, what does that look like? What does the first step look like? What do I do next? And I said to her, well, you've never made the decision to do it to begin with, so no steps will be eliminated for you. So when you find out what that deep, beautiful, sexy gift is that you want to bring into the world, make the decision. Don't even worry about what that next step looks like. Because once you've made the decision, like you said earlier, a weird coincidence, like your friend coming up and saying something to you, and all of a sudden that's the next step illuminated. And you trust that intuition. You be taught from within, and you take that step. Mm-hmm. And then when you take that step, the next step illuminates. This was kind of the idea behind the agent evolution and me learning to reinvent myself. Like I had this hat on that said loan officer for 13 years. It just was not fitting anymore. Like it was just, I had to get rid of that hat. And so what did that look like? And all I knew is I wanted to work with people. I wanted to help people. I wanted to work with people who are ready, willing, and able to take themselves on to step into a more beautiful expression of themselves.
Yeah.
But had I sat there and wanted to see all of the steps laid out first before I took the first step, I likely would have still been wearing this horrible hat called loan officer. And I say horrible. I should express more gratitude to a beautiful industry that's rewarded me so handsomely. But I've now been teaching people what I did to essentially step back from that business that has been wonderful for me so that I can be more in my purpose. But the point of that was that there had been nobody that had done exactly what I wanted to do, so I couldn't go and copy somebody. But had I had that desire to have all the steps laid out first before I took that first step, I likely would have never launched. And so, how can you play in this time and space? Meaning, how can you not be attached to the result? Because the thing that you're doing is what you like to be doing. Yeah. And being in this place of surrendering into uncertainty and being okay and trusting that you're going to come out more beautiful and you're going to learn in the process and you're going to grow as a being. How can you adopt that in this space? And I can assure you that when you fully make the decision, decision comes from the root word kaidir, to cut off all other possibility. We take the island, we take over the island by burning the boats, as Tony Robbins would say. That's when you've truly made the decision. And when you make that decision and you start to really rest in it and sit in your mind and see those beautiful images of what you want to have and create in your life, then what's going to happen is these weird things that our small, limited self would call circumstances or coincidences. Yes, coincidences. And really, that's just the universe giving you a breadcrumb trail to follow because you're in alignment. And when you stay in that place of alignment, you are tapping into an energy that is not your human energy. And so that animates you on this path, and you don't feel drained and drawn out. You feel illuminated from within, and that's a wonderful place to be. And you know that that is in alignment with what you are here to do. So, end rant. Where are we going with that? I mean, ask some questions here, because we're going to keep rambling. Yes. Every rabbit hole you could think of.
Dive deep if you want. Like, just keep going. However, if some of you out there would love some support, stuck somewhere with something that you're wrestling with, like we're here to help give you some perspective to get unstuck. So take advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah. So in regards to, as you guys are thinking of some things you want to ask, hopefully, in regards to methods, if you feel like you're getting caught in that little bit of panic and fear, just know that that's a sign to go get reconnected to your higher self. And, some wonderful methods that have always worked is connecting to the breath. And this has been a wonderful path for me, and absolutely passionate about connecting to the breath. In the East, it's called pranayama. And they would say that in times of stress, we are only breathing from the top part of our diaphragms, real shallow, quick breaths, and we are actually choking off spirit, is what they would say. And you say, well, it's just air. Well, I mean, we're also 99.999% empty space, so you're breathing in something. And the point of that is, breathe in the universe, take in that prana, that life force that they call it, and really connect. And so a way to do that is to really take in full breaths, fill up your entire belly and your ribs and your chest, and really fill up that. And you can go really slow breaths in through the nose. Your inhale could be 4 seconds, and you hold for 4 seconds, and you let out for 4 seconds, and then you hold for 4 seconds. We've called that box breathing. And just get reconnected. So if you feel the panic about whatever is going on in the world, your duty is to turn to the light. Your duty is to open your heart and feel that love, because then you broadcast that into the world, and that in and of itself is you pulling your weight, doing your duty. And so work on that box breathing a bit and get more reconnected and centered. I suppose a lot of us are leading families, and if my vibe dropped and I'm feeling the fear and I'm not feeling the love, then how do I show up for my kids? I don't have a wife, but how would I show up for my wife? Am I leading well? All of us, it starts with I. So check in, and you have the power to be able to change your state around that.
Totally. Are there any questions, Nikki?
Michelle brought up a situation that she was struggling with her daughter. Her youngest daughter is scheduled to come and visit from Maryland, and she's torn if they should reschedule or if she should come as planned. And if she's going from within, she wants her here more than anything.
Mm.
So the question is, should your daughter come or not?
Mm-hmm. From Maryland.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you like to? What's your feedback on that, Mr. Thorstad?
I mean, this is kind of the bummer of virtual and not having the audio to ask some more questions and kind of unearth the situation. I'm going to assume some things. I'm going to assume that it's questionable because is it safe for her to travel? And is that putting her at risk for contracting the coronavirus? Well, my answer to that would be the risk of her contracting the coronavirus is no different than her attracting any other kind of virus or biological thing that she could attract through travel regardless. So yes, there's something out there that's more prevalent right now. However, what's her mode of transportation? I mean, is she flying? Is she driving? Like what?
So from Maryland?
Yeah, from Maryland, probably flying, I would assume. But again, going back to how's her state of being? Emotionally, mentally, physically, is she in a good state of health? I'm not saying like all healthy people are not able to get sick, but again, it's usually an emotional thing that downregulates our immune system. It's an emotional thing that we're grappling with, that we're feeling some fear, panic, doubt, worry, whatever it is, negative emotions, survival emotions, and what is her positive state. So if the positive state is winning and she's not getting into or paying attention to some of those negative survival emotions, the immune system should be really good. The body should be at ease and homeostasis, where dis-ease cannot live. So risk, yes, but to the degree would depend upon her own emotional and health state that she's creating moment by moment. And that's the short end of it.
Yeah. Well, back to the panic and purpose piece of it. The whole panic piece, if the virus and getting sick is what the panic is, then, there's plenty of time and space to find out how to improve the immune system. And I was listening to a phenomenal, mind-blowing podcast the other day, and this doctor was researching the people in China that had actually passed away from this. And they said that they didn't actually pass away from the virus. Now, it was causal, but what they found is that these people who ended up dying had a collapse of their gut biome. And so there's so much science right now on how important your gut health is, because this is like, they call it the third brain now. You've got one here, you got one in your heart, and you've got one in your stomach with how much this controls down here. You've got your serotonin uptake and all that. And so a product of our environment of ingesting chemicals and not so good foods, and we're not balanced, and we're not bringing in enough fiber, and we're not eating fermented things to keep our gut bacteria in health. Those people had collapses in their own organism, so that when this virus came along, it took them down. And so I would say that if the fear is around the virus, what are you doing to really restore harmony within the body? Because our bodies are resilient. We keep our vibration high, and we are taking care of this physical vehicle that we've been given to test drive being man. We have everything that we need within us to heal. So in regards to your daughter, I don't know her, but I would say that if she could take the extra precautions and then really step into a higher vibe state, she would be less susceptible. If it's going to cause fear and panic in you, not having her with you, and vice versa, possibly with her, then that's not a state that you want to be in. And so I say, throw on the 3M mask and the gloves and hand sanitizer and the space suit and all those things and bring her home. I mean,
Yeah, well, so I mean, rarely watch the news. Very rare. Yet the other day, it was kind of late, and I was flipping through the channels, and it was a CNN town hall. And so they brought up statistics worldwide and then United States on how many cases have been documented and how many deaths from those cases. And worldwide, I did the math on it real quick, 5.8% mortality rate. In the United States, it was 2.5% mortality rate. So, this is definitely a thing, and I've seen some memes on Facebook about this. Why aren't we talking about that here in the United States? The odds of when you contract, if you contract the coronavirus, the death rate is 2.5%. So that means then you have a 97.5% chance of living through it. How many people have already had the coronavirus that didn't even know it, that we don't know about it?
I swear I had it. And I'm not trying to downplay it. I had something nasty when I was down in the jungle.
Yeah, many people did, especially in December, before this was really even a thing.
Yeah.
So we're not up here saying the coronavirus isn't a thing and to just willy-nilly go out there and be careless. We're not communicating that at all. What we're attempting to do is to put some things into perspective, to see things for what it really is, instead of buying into the hype and the fear and the panic, because that clearly doesn't serve anybody. Mm-hmm. So let's take it for what it is.
Yeah. Well, so backing up, my condolences to all the people who have lost loved ones in all of this. It's not a joke. However, we have to know that the number one killer of Americans last year was stress. Stress was the common factor in crushing people's immune systems and allowing whatever disease, dis-ease, disharmony to come into the body. And so now we are forced with this time and space to be able to slow down and create a practice. We cannot use the excuse that I don't have time to protect my vibration and promote it. Like, that's out.
Yeah.
And so back to, collapsing the panic. Let's keep our vibes high. Eat some good, clean, healthy food that makes your body feel good.
Yeah.
Go out and move your body. That's what it was designed for. Go.
Real quick, I want to tangent on stress. So if we think about stress and not being able to manage our own emotional internal state, that leads to overeating. Because that's a way to gain some pleasure and avoid pain. That overeating leads to what? An unhealthy state in your body, which leads to what? Heart disease, cancer. Maybe that stress leads to drinking, which can lead to getting in a car accident and people dying from a drunk driver. Like, how many deaths per year from drunk driving, from heart disease, from all these other things caused by a body not being at ease, caused by people not being in homeostasis between mind and body. How many deaths are we talking about that on an annual average that we're not looking at?
Yeah.
Yet when there's a pandemic of a flu, and worldwide so far, and it's tragic. Please don't misunderstand me or take it out of context. Just a little under 70,000 people died. I googled 56,000 people die every year from the common flu. So yes, we've exceeded that in a short amount of time. I see this. And that's something out of our control. But what about the parts that you can be responsible for? Your own emotional state, your own physical health, your own well-being. Because you're radiating that. Giving it to your honey, to your kids, to your clients, to everybody around you. So how are you being right now? It's an opportunity, this whole situation, to check in with that and then set a new intention, an internal state of this is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is who I'm going to be. And then living that intention through.
Yeah, you talk about that ripple effect. When you go and get connected, people around you notice your uplift in your vibration, and then we're giving them the permission that they have been seeking, although they do not need it, to do that work as well. And we've said it in our live talks, but every single day we wake up and we get to choose consciously whether we want to help shift this world a little closer to heaven or shift it a little closer to hell. And each one of our energetic footprints matters in the collective. And what is so beautiful about existing and being alive in this time is that science is able to now prove the impacts of this stuff. These are, teachings, the mystical teachings of the East have been saying this for thousands and thousands of years. And we Westerners who desire to have science and proof and all of these things before we believe it, we now have that. If you want to use this time and space to understand and dive deeper into the nature of reality and how that all works and how you can become more of a creator, look at quantum physics and the amazing stuff that they are coming up with. And so your vibratory state absolutely matters, especially in a time like this. As within, so without.
Nikki, do you have any other questions?
Just a lot of interaction. Like Andy said, for the first time that he can remember, he did a morning routine before social media, emails, and
Nice.
it included affirmations, meditation, exercise, and it was scary not to look at his phone, but it was nice for sure. And imagine what he's going to accomplish today.
I love that.
I wonder if anybody can hear what was just said. So Andy chimed in and said that he did his morning ritual this morning before plugging into social media and got meditation, movement, all these beautiful things in. And at first it was scary to not go to the normal habit of checking in with social media. So he stayed committed to the practice to raise the vibration. Let me ask you something, Andy, if you're still watching. And for the rest of you, this is just an opportunity to play and practice, right? So if you, this tomorrow morning, I'm going to do morning before I open social media. Pay attention to... Okay, now we're scrolling down here. Okay, so pay attention to this one thing. How do I feel in the morning when I wake up, and the first thing I do after hitting snooze a few times and going to the bathroom is plug into my Instagram or my Facebook. And then I get out of bed. You just set the tone for the day. Now, that's not wrong or bad. What I'm asking you to do is check in with that, and then the next day, when you wake up, don't touch the phone. First of all, when it goes off, hit off, not snooze. Get your ass out of bed. Go show up to your morning ritual, because this is something you get to do. You don't have to do anything, but you get to go show up to that. Go through that process. What I recommend is gratitude. We could talk about that. Some meditation, some movement, and then some cold therapy. That whole process can take you as little as 30 minutes, but up to an hour or more, depending upon your practice. And this is something you build and grow, right? So my point is this. Get up. Get involved with your morning practice. Then check into your social media. And if you're paying attention, I think you're going to notice two different things. One is when you wake up after hitting snooze a few times and you plug into social media before you roll your feet out of bed, you set the tone of this is my opinion, negativity, drama, more in tune with being entertained and a spectator than you are a creator. Because what I noticed for myself in my own many transformations is getting up and being committed and connected to my practice, and then looking at social media and emails later. I had a different energetic state that I brought, a different lens, different filters that I brought when checking into the social media and the emails. I was only looking for valuable, forward-moving content, which there's not a lot of on social media. So, what is your intention? What reality do you want to create? And which method will serve you best in creating that reality? It's just a choice, just a question. And I'm not saying one way is right, one way is bad, and have judgment on it. That is not for me to say. And even if I was judging one model over another, why the hell would you care about my opinion versus your own? I'm just giving you other perspectives and possibilities for you to step into, play with what you're noticing for your own growth.
It's back to the being and the doing. And so the morning ritual, the morning practice is to go straight into whatever elevates your state of being, so that when you show up in your day for your kids and your loved ones and your clients and your beautiful creation that you're bringing to the world, your doingness is now done through an elevated state of being. And looking back at my own journey of just creating things out of nothing, being in that elevated state helps me become significantly more powerful to bring those things into being. So if you're back on your purpose in all of this and diving in on what you want to do in the world, wonderful. Get clear in your practice first, because when you elevate, the messages can come through in that practice when you start to get in tune with that inner world, and your creation process unfolds significantly easier. It no longer has to be done through sheer force in making things happen. It can be done through power, where you just elevate, and that light is so bright you attract things to you.
Yeah. I think what a lot of people lose sight of or don't have the awareness of is that it doesn't matter what your doingness is. It doesn't matter what your plan or strategy is. For example, Justin and I can have the same exact, okay, here's the end result, here's what we're going for, and here's the method. And both of our processes are identical. Yet, don't you know that the two of us will create a different result from one another? Why? Because we have different modes of reality, different meaning-making machines, and moment by moment, what is our state of being in such a way that who's showing up to the doingness? Who's showing up to the party? If I'm having a bad day because I got to fight with my honey and my kid did this and, something happened and I'm choosing to be in a bad state, but I'm showing up to the process, am I energetically contributing to that doingness? And what kind of result or reaction am I going to produce? Versus if he's having a fantastic day and he just stuck his morning ritual and he's vibing super high, he could show up to the doingness, put forth virtually zero effort, yet most of it unfolds. It's called a flow state. So what to do and the doingness is never the answer. It's how am I going to be today? Who's showing up to the do?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Like, what an opportunity to get some coaching or perspective.
Well, Thomas Ferrier said, "Finite and valuable resource, we will be the human element. The ideas, the culture, the love, the ethics, ideas and dreams in a system of prosperity. The intellectual capital of the human experience is going to be the most valuable resource."
Totally.
That's pretty beautiful.
Yeah, those things can become the currency.
Annette Dalton said, "We might not get this opportunity for a forced reset within the next 100 years, so it's great to take advantage of now."
Yeah, I don't know if you all can hear Nikki. She's in the background feeding us your questions and comments. So Thomas, I'm going to botch your name. Ferrier?
Carrier.
Ferrier? My bad. Yeah, beautiful comment. Thank you. And I'm sorry, who about the...
Annette Dalton.
Annette Dalton with the 100-year pandemic.
We might not get this opportunity.
Yeah. Maybe, you know what, for me, it's kind of like the bust of like 2007, 2008. And going through that in the real estate, I was like, damn, I wish I would have bought more properties. I wish I would have raised more capital. I wish. Right? And it's like, okay, you say that. Yet what am I doing right now to prepare myself to take advantage of the downturn? Because it's happening. I don't know when. It could be a year. It could be 10 years. I have no clue. And I don't profess to know. Yet my responsibility is to prepare myself, to position myself to take advantage of the opportunities that unfold for me. Or I can go to panic and be in resistance to what's going on and be victim. It's just a choice. Michelle, I've allowed negative and anxious energy from family members at home to affect me.
Yes.
What are some suggestions to stop the cycle? Beautiful. So we're going to tag team this. I would say, Michelle, the very first and most important thing to do is what you've already done. And that is to have the awareness that, hey, I'm feeling this way and I'm operating this way because so are the others around me. I am now aware. Congratulations. Now that you're aware, you have the ability to choose differently. Like, we throw around this word consciousness a lot. So let's put some context around, like, what does that mean? What does that mean to you? For us, consciousness means simply being the observer, being the witness. Can you observe yourself and your programs and how they run? Can you observe and witness your habitual patterns? It's just self-awareness. So you have the self-awareness that you're allowing those negative and anxious energies from family members. Step 2 would be this. It's not their fault you feel this way. So please do not make them wrong or point the finger, because you chose to buy into that. Now, it's easy to become a product of your environment. So it does have an impact, yes. But once you are aware, now you have the ability to respond differently. Respond differently, ability to respond, responsibility to be different. So the next thing I would do is choose my intention. How about, because of this time and my family's suffering and they're stressed, how about I become the love and light? And I shift them just from my own beingness. Nothing I have to say to them, not making them wrong, not judging them, not putting them down. No. I'm going to go be leader of self, of I, and I'm going to go raise my vibration in such a way that I emit that frequency to my family that's around me 24 hours a day. Go be the change.
I love that. I would add to that, don't be attached to the outcome, whether or not they ever change, because they may not. You may be the brightest light on the planet, and they still may be able to stay in this fear and anxious energy. We all have free will. We get to choose to live our lives the way that we desire to. And so who are we to say they are wrong for that? As it relates to protecting yourself, yes, I've had some really interesting experiences with this. We are all, you hear people throwing around the term, I'm an empath. You hear it all the time.
Constantly.
And we are all empathic. Some of us are more in tune with our energy than others. And so what happens is when we are really in tune and we come into an environment in which the vibration is quite low, we start to feel that. And so the idea behind that is when to be aware, back to conscious, to say, wait, whoa, I'm feeling all of these feelings. Those are not my feelings.
Bingo.
Those are not my feelings. And can you hold space for those people that are feeling so much fear? Like, gosh, I can't imagine being in my mother's shoes and she just feels all this fear and this anxiety. Like, I feel bad. Like, I'm sorry you're hurting so much. And the best example you could be is be it. Be that light.
Yeah, what's so massive about what you said is that you can feel that collective energy. Yet, if you can view it, if you can witness it, it must not be you. So can you detach from it? Because it's not you.
Yeah. And that's back to awareness, right? So if we're being unconscious and we just step into that and all of a sudden we feel this vibration and we don't consciously stop that cycle, now all of a sudden we're in this rut. And, speaking from I have avoided my family for, quite some time because those were the situations that I was in. But it was one of the greatest teachers I've ever had because I could learn now consciously how this all works. And now I can be in those situations and hold space and not take on that vibration. And this is back to the energy awareness. When I was in Costa Rica a month or two ago, and I experienced an energy healer, a woman down there, very, very in tune woman, and she was doing acupuncture, first time for me, and we're in the jungle, and she was reading my thoughts. It was so wild because I was laying on this table, and I couldn't get my hips covered. I was in my mind, I'm like, man, my hip is kind of hurting. And she goes, your hip is hurting, move this way. And I go, so I thought nothing of it. And then something else happened a couple minutes later, the same thing. I was thinking something, and she goes, well, we are all empathic. We all have this faculty. She's just really in tune with it. And she goes, when I start feeling something weird in my body, I know it's not mine. And so I just say it. And so what that is we all have it. And so when we go into these heavy situations, we have to know that, hey, I'm happy. And I'm going to be with people who might be freaking out. But that's not our place to take on that energy. And so to be conscious of that, to not take that on. And one of the exercises this woman, Kinga, told me was to, if you want like a tactical practice to maybe help bring awareness to these situations, is when you anticipate going into a heavy situation like that, say with your family or people freaking out or whatever.
Clients.
Yeah, go in and start to visualize this bubble around you that's full of white light and positive energy, and it's impermeable to negativity and fear. And so make that a practice to help deepen an awareness around that, so that when you go into these situations, hey, I might be with a person who's really, really, really hurting and scared, but that's not my place to take it on.
And I think going through that exercise, like what an excellent opportunity to practice that, right? And so in your practice, might you make mistakes? Clearly, that's how we learn, is through experience. And so the mistake would be not protecting your vibration, and then so you leave that interaction feeling some fear, feeling lower energy. Then just have the awareness that those are not my feelings. That is not my normal state. Therefore, I must have allowed some of that in. So first thing I want to do is not resist that this happened. I'll accept it. Remember, surrender, acceptance. Okay? There's some more work there for me to be done to increase my skill set with this. So I have it. I took it on. And it is not me. Therefore, I'm going to make the conscious decision to release it. So let me shift my focus so that I can change my state. Maybe it's turning on the radio and getting some music and shaking your ass. I don't know. Maybe it's calling.
That's what I do.
You're right.
I mean, right here in this kitchen. I mean, I get down.
Maybe it's calling like the most impactful, positive person you can think of, saying, hey, listen, here's what I just went through and experienced, and I'm feeling this. And just like let them talk you through it. Resource yourself. Surround yourself with powerful people, because we all support one another. That's what this is about. It's community, it's family, it's connection. Your vibe attracts your tribe. So who do you surround yourself with? It matters.
Yeah. So back to you, Michelle. Thank you for interacting and giving some content and context to work with. Yeah, that is absolutely what happens, at least for me, in this path of, I've chosen to work on myself and grow and step into a more beautiful expression. And as we start to learn these new ways of thinking and being and doing and all of that, we want everybody else to see through our lens. We say, well, look you're not happy. Like, why don't you see what I see? You need to do X, Y, and Z. And it is not our job to fix people. This is their incarnation. They have free will. It is their choice to live this life however they choose to live this life. It's not our place to make them wrong for that.
And Michelle, so you said, thank you. You made me realize I am subconsciously trying to fix everyone and make everyone happy, my default model. So we could really dive deep on that for a couple of hours. We're not going to, but I would say take some time and reflect upon what is it that lives or exists within me in such a way that I want to fix everybody. What am I deriving from that? What's the payoff? What's the benefit I get from attempting to fix people? And then I would ask the next best question of, what are the prices I'm paying? What is it costing me to operate in this way? Because here's the deal. Like, we're coaches. We're pretty conscious people. Don't you think that we'd like to shift a lot of people? Totally. It's just kind of what we do. However, I'll speak for both of us. What we have learned, not only is it not our job to fix people, but most importantly, some people don't want to be fixed. And so, as Mr. Haines pointed out to me through some literature, it is an immoral act to impress that upon somebody. And I read another quote, I'm not sure if you shared it with me or what, but it basically says something to the effect of, before you help someone heal, make sure they're willing to put down what made them sick. And some people are not, and that's okay. They're not wrong or bad. That's just where they're at right now. It's not your job to go around with your tool belt fixing everybody, right? Now, the people that raise their hand and say, hey, me, I'm struggling, and I truly have a desire to be different. I'm just not sure where or how to go about this. Cool. That's someone you can get into relationship with and work with. But because they raised their hand, asked for it.
Yeah, that's the medicine right there. So, Michelle, being with your family and seeing all their, as we would maybe say, flaws in their thinking, and they're full of fear and anxiety and all this stuff, and we have happened to develop some methods in which we don't buy into that kind of stuff, and we're in a good state. Like, we want to help them. The medicine is, how can you continue to be so solid in your own foundation that nothing can rattle you?
And becoming that person gives everybody else permission to do the same. Like, you're being the shift that you truly desire to see in them, not by telling them where their shortcomings are, not by pointing out where they're doing wrong, but by being a prime example of what's possible for everybody. So you heal and fix others by taking care of yourself.
I love that. Yeah, it starts with I. And what I can also say is that when you pull all that energy back into yourself and continue that path of self-work, you will need less from your environment, including parents. And the byproduct of this, speaking from my own journey, has been when I become that brighter light and I have this presence that the people who really want to hear the message will come. And those are your people. Those are your tribe. Those are the people you invest with. And the inherent light worker coach thing that we all have within us gets satisfied by making an impact on the planet. So it's not, our job to go around and try to fix people. It's their journey. Your medicine is in not being attached to it and being so solid in your foundation that your state does not change having been in it. And for me, it's my mommy issues. My mother and I have been working on some stuff. We go to therapy together. I mean, I realize this is one of those things that I've been holding on to for a really long time. And, I used to want to, we would get in these tussles because we both wanted to make each other wrong. And I realized that I would like go out to the shed and grab a can full of gas and pour it on the bonfire. Like, let's go. And then I would leave these interactions like in this state of like not feeling so great, like worked up. Kenny, 8 o'clock at night, and I'm trying to go to bed, and my like state is just full of adrenaline. And so, what I had to realize is I had to step back and start looking at it from a different lens. Here is a woman who is, in pain because she doesn't have a good, beautiful, loving relationship that she wanted with her son, and she does not communicate that the way that I think she should communicate that. And so can I just hold space for her that she's hurting? And how can I be so powerful in a way that I can love her and not have it affect me negatively? And so these people that we experience in our lives are all there for a reason. And so to be with it, use it to reflect back to you where the places that you've still got work to do. In regards to, Lacey, if you're still on this call, that is exactly it. You're talking about releasing that energy. When we stop having attachments to our environment to be and look a certain way, we start to pull it all back, and then we can just rest and surrender and see all of the beautiful things that we couldn't see before when we were busy trying to fix everything. We get to come back into harmony in our internal state. And I can assure you that in a new world, your value is absolutely going to be measured by the amount of light that you project.
Totally. So I have something that's really important. It's going to tie back to some earlier discussion, and it's this. Do you remember me saying, like, our only job is to identify what our purpose is and what the end result looks like, and to not be concerned with how it's going to unfold? Yes? Okay. So lately I've been thinking and pondering about attracting a new coach. When the student's ready, the teacher will appear. And a coach came across my awareness. I thought, oh, well, this must be the answer. And while I love that gentleman, and I think he's amazingly, super powerful, very conscious, and I could learn a tremendous amount from this man, something just wasn't resonating with me. So I had a conversation with Haines about that as being a solution, my next step, and how it didn't really feel right yet. And so he recommended some energy work. And I said, I've been thinking about that. And I've been thinking more and more about some of that energy work. And so, Lacey, if I can just go back up to your comment, you said done some energy release work recently. And let me tell you what, I feel so amazing. Like a weight has been lifted and I feel different. Like a very good different. No idea if that's relevant, but I had to share. I don't know if it's relevant to what we just talked about, but it's completely relevant for me. So we'll have an offline discussion on where you went, what your experience was, and that's more information for me to make a better informed decision about my next steps. So again, me not being attached to, I got to go find somebody. Look what just happened.
Yeah.
It came to me. That's power versus force of I got to be the one to figure it out. Now, this may or may not be the answer, but isn't it a step in the right direction for me? I say totally. So thank you for your contribution.
What you're saying, unpacking that, is you've been having a desire around attracting some energy work.
Yes.
And so force would have been, I'm going to go start Googling people and start picking up the phone and calling it. But you were intentional on what you wanted to create.
Yes.
And this...
Here she is with a comment about her, what she just did that's in alignment with me, what her experience was. And so clearly my question for her is, where did you go? And can I go there too?
Yeah.
After having a discussion about what your experience was, completely, like unpacking that to really understand the full value of it. So thank you for putting that coincidence along my path. We'll call it a synchronicity. Thank you, Lacey.
I love that. So we've chatted about a lot of things. It's
Indeed.
Collapsing panic, really dismantling it, and looking at it for what it is and utilizing the time and space to uncover purpose, to be able to create what we want our lives to look like moving forward.
Assign some meaning and significance and purpose for your life.
Yeah, the importance of keeping connected to that higher vibe state. Play around, go experience some new things, and find what really lights you up. What did you love to do when you were a child? And can you incorporate some more play in this time? Because as I mentioned before, each and every one of us is emitting energy into the collective environment. And I would be willing to bet that if all 7.8 billion people stepped out of fear and stepped into love tomorrow, I would be willing to wager that all of the ills of humanity would fall apart. They would be gone. There was a mass meditation that took place. I believe it was yesterday or the day before. No, it was Sunday, I believe. And they had a goal of getting 1 million people across the globe using this wonderful platform called the internet to have a meditation for humanity and healing and health. And there were, and I have not investigated all of these studies, but they had said that the actual frequency of the earth changed in that time when these people were meditating. And so we all are shifting the world in our own unique ways. And so in a time right now where so much fear is rampant, we need more people stepping into the light. Dispenza talked about something called Project Coherence. And I'm going to butcher this a little bit. However, they had groups of people that were going to meditate on world peace. This was in the of Becoming Supernatural, the book. And what had happened is that when they were meditating on peace, I think they could measure the amount of the massive drop in crime during that time and place. And so I would say the ills of man and the fears that we've been feeling and the stress that we've been feeling, like I would say collectively we've created what we're experiencing right now. And that the beautiful thing is, like you always say, if we created this, then we can create something new. But it starts with I.
So to dovetail onto that, it's like, I think what would serve us, this collective, our humanity, is to realize that moment by moment, we all are contributing something to the collective. So the question then becomes, what am I contributing? Because I can only be responsible for me. So if I'm taking care of self, not in a selfish, but in a healthy manner, I'm promoting my vibration, I'm protecting it, I am love and light, I don't close off my heart, I acknowledge my emotions as things I have, not as who I am. So I have a healthy emotional relationship with myself. If I'm taking care of myself, I'm contributing that to the collective. And what would our world look like if we were all being responsible for ourselves and therefore able to love one another because we love ourselves? What would that world be like? What would it be about? And what better time than the present to practice? So again, we've created this so far. Congratulations, job well done. We're still here. And if we can create that, we can create anything. The question then becomes, what is the purpose? What do we want to create? What's the direction? Where are we going? And it starts with I. Any other questions out there?
That's beautiful.
Thomas had asked if you could go over some quiet your mind techniques.
Ooh, yeah. Quieting your mind techniques. I know you've probably got a billion of them. I have one that's super simple that I use almost on a daily basis. So if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Mine's super simple. And it's this. to sit somewhere where you're not going to be interrupted. Turn your phone on airplane mode. If you want to have some quiet music with no vocals, that can support you as well. And so you really have to create time and space to do this, because this is a practice. And so it's this: when you get to that space, put on some noise canceling headphones, some really soft music with no vocals. What I simply do is I focus on not thinking a thought. That's the focus. And so what I'll do is I'll take a very intentional deep breath in and release it. And I'll do 10 of those. And so my goal is to make it through the 10 breaths without thinking a thought. So if I get to breath 4 and a thought comes up like, oh, don't forget to call so-and-so, guess what? Starting over from number 1. Now this can drive you a little mad because you think that your thoughts are just happening to you. Realize that it is your mind and you can control and direct it. But it's going to take practice, especially if you've never done this before and you're how old? You've been practicing not controlling your mind. You might want to give yourself some time and space to practice and rehearse this and get good at it. It's going to take time. Yet, I'll tell you this, when you can get to 10 without thinking a thought, or you notice the thought's coming up and you simply just let it go, don't even acknowledge it, let alone put yourself down for having a thought. That's just another thought. And it's a negative one at that. So now what's your state? Okay? So pay attention. Notice what you're noticing. When I can get through the 10 breaths without thinking a thought, I really end up in this state of nothingness. It's neutral, but it's very bliss. And I'll tell you this, what I've discovered. That inner silence is the voice of God. That inner silence is where I receive information. It's where I get insights on the next steps, revelations about myself or what I'm going for or what I'm doing. That inner stillness is such a beautiful place. And so what I begin to realize is if I'm not feeling that inner peace, now I have the responsibility to go be at peace because it's my choice. So that's a very simple, down and dirty practice. Just get there. However, be patient with yourself. Give yourself permission to make mistakes. Give yourself permission that a thought's going to come up and you're going to think it through. And you go, oh, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be thinking of nothing. Let me bring it back. Until pretty soon, you notice a thought coming up and you just let it go by like a passing car. No judgment on yourself for having thought, nothing. Just the fact you had a thought and you're going to let it go.
Love that. So I would add that when people say I can't meditate, they think that they just have to sit down and not have any thoughts whatsoever. And I still don't experience that. But what I experience now is that when a thought does come up, I don't get lost in it. And I say that there's another piece of directing your thoughts and your energy. And so to have a vision of what you want to bring into being in this world and being able to direct your thoughts. So you are thinking, you're visualizing what you want to create. So you're actually intentionally putting your thoughts into something. So I find that as being incredibly useful. And back to methods that I talked about before, the box breathing has been absolutely one of the most profound concentrators of my attention. And that is, again, to, you're breathing in through the nose and you're to a count of 4 silently in your mind, and you hold for a count of 4, and then you release for a count of 4, and then you hold for a count of 4, and you literally just go around this box. 10 minutes is a good amount of time. And if you have a thought, that's fine. Don't get lost in it. As soon as you're aware that you're in a thought, bring it right back to your counting. And what happens is after some practice, and a really solid meditation practice takes time to develop. I've been practicing for 3 years at this point, and I probably average 35, 40 minutes a day. What happens is you'll slowly get in this space where you no longer are aware of the physical body, and that all of your intention and energy is in your inner world, if you will. And the only thing that I'm conscious of in the body, if I'm putting my mind there, is just my breath, my chest cavity, my stomach and stuff expanding out and coming back in. And so just sitting with that for 10 minutes, maybe some light light music. I like Schumann resonance, which is the earth frequency, and you can YouTube those and whatnot. But I say sit with that practice. And the thing about developing a meditation practice is that you've got to give yourself like a good 10-day commitment, like no breaks, 10 days. Because what happens, speaking from my experience, is that after a few days, you'll eventually have these weird feelings in the body that are, for me, were foreign. Like this blissful, peaceful letting go. And what happened was, call me a drug addict, but getting high that way was very addicting. And so what happened is, because I got a taste of the benefit, it kept me coming back. And so if you try it for a couple of days and you're like, it didn't work, like give yourself long enough to touch that place. Sit yourself down. You've got time and space. And do it for 10 days. And once you actually get that full feeling of it in your body, it becomes a bit addicting. And then you want to do it. It does not look like another task on your to-do list, just another obligation to fulfill that day. It becomes something you get to do. And then you start to protect that time.
It's now a priority.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'll say this, if I can just add that. Whether it's the box breathing, whether it's the 10 breaths, a conscious practice that you're going to be committed to. And it really, for me, speaking for what I've gained from that is when I'm able to get to that point where I'm in control of my thoughts, I then now can choose to direct all of my attention, all of my focus in my imagination to then outpicture what I'm desiring to create, as if it's already here now, which means then I can engage my entire physiology, even though I'm in thought alone, that my body is experiencing that future thing here now. So now my body knows how it's going to feel. I'm practicing that success. And I have my full mental capacity to invest in it versus the little bit, because all the rest of my mind is focused on what I got to go do later today, or what didn't get done yesterday, or what time do I got to help the kids with homework, or make dinner, or laundry, or all the other stuff that we have in our mental bandwidth, our capacity here. So it's about choosing to be responsible for your emotional state, your thoughts, and being able to direct all of that to go powerfully create what you desire.
I love that. So whatever it is, seek it. Find a process, create a ritual, make it sacred, protect that time. April, yes, Schumann resonance is absolutely one that I like. I just listen to the frequency and get in tune with my breath and all of those things. But as we get wrapped up, we've got like 3 minutes left. What I want you to leave with today, what I want, is give your gifts. Go give. Dispenza says, in the time of lack and scarcity, give, because that's becoming supernatural. And so whatever your thing is, maybe it's baking some loaves of bread. Like I was just sitting here with my 4-year-old the other day. I learned how to make bread. It was great. We made a disaster in here. It was wonderful. But give a gift. Give right now. Let's put that out in the world. Let's show that we don't need the financial system the way it was designed before. It was not a way that it was here to serve us a big purpose. Like, let's give right now. Let's create community. Let's create love. And so in the name of giving, I'm going to be doing a introduction meditation course digitally on Zoom next week. If you want the details on that, send me a private message and I'll get you the details when they're ready. And we'll go through all kinds of stuff on how to create a practice and whatnot. So
very cool.
For you, whatever your gift is, give it right now. The world needs it. The world needs love. The world needs light. And we all have the capacity to show up in that facet.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm excited to witness this and experience it myself. I mean, we've had many, many cave sessions and meditations, 2 hours long. And I'm still excited about the basic entry levels things that Justin's going to be sharing. So if you miss that, I don't know what you put as a priority over that. So My meditation practice is on point, and I leave this meat suit and go other places. Yet I'm going to tap into the basics and the fundamentals, because that's always where the treasure lies. My gift, my give back is this, for those of you still watching. This Friday from 10 to about 1 o'clock, I'm doing a class called Mindset Shift. So I go over the world's greatest success formula, be, do, have, as well as at the end, a daily ritual practice that you can follow, and the benefits of each element in that practice. So there's about an hour of it after the first hour. The first hour is mindset. The next hour is really getting into if you are in a business where you're dealing with customers, how can you increase that business you receive from those customers through building relationships without spending hardly any money, yet making a large emotional impact to build healthier, stronger relationships. So that is this Friday, same place on my Facebook page from 10 to about 1. And real quick, I just want to shout out to Julie Forsyth. Thank you so much for that comment that you were able to sit by yourself and witness you. That's an inside thing for those of you who have no idea what we're talking about. It's a practice that she's been practicing to step outside of herself as a witness and objectively view herself. And she accomplished that. So congratulations. You're such a testament to the persistence. And that is so beautiful. So thank you for sharing, Julie.
Yeah. So April, absolutely. You know, we love this work and we love this container, and the power is in the community. And so the more of us beautiful souls show up to this work, the more out in the world it impact people, and you cannot quantify the effect you are having by engaging in this work. And as we are sharing the light, we ask that you as well, if you're impacted by this work, let's get all of our tribes together in this platform called online and video. Like, it's endless the amount of impact that we can have if we really have enough people swimming or rowing the boat in the same direction.
So our ask of you all, if you enjoy these, if you find value in these, our ask is simply, let's maintain a win-win by share this opportunity, the next one that we have, with everybody else. So when we make a post, when Nikki makes a post for us, if you wouldn't mind sharing that so that we just have more people chiming in, asking some awesome, brilliant questions, and creating a bigger, stronger community. So
Love it.
We appreciate all your support. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Enjoy your Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you. Love and light.
Sun and love. See ya.
Bye.